Today, we become legends.
Have you ever wondered which gods are universally considered the most fun or least fun in the game? Well, today we find out. I sent out a poll to my audience, which I'm sure some of you watching this video participated in, to rate every single god in the game from 0 to 10 based on how fun you think they are. I got over 500 respondents as of the time of recording this. There may even be more by the time the video releases, and I averaged out all of those responses into a single number for each god, and this is what this tier list is. So we have the S plus tier, which is an average of 7 plus out of 10. We have the S tier, which is 6.5 to 7. A plus tier, 6.5. There's an extra bracket in there. That's going to trigger me 1 second. There we go. A plus tier, 6 to 6.5. A tier, 5.5 to 6. B tier, 5 to 5.5. C tier, 4.5 to 5. And D tier, 4 to 4.5. And by the way, for any of you wondering, any god that sits exactly on the boundary will be in the higher tier. So if a god is 6.5, for example, they'll be in S tier, not in A plus tier. There weren't many cases of that, but there were a couple of gods that did sit on an exact boundary. I think Nox was one of them. Nox sits exactly at 5, which is why she's here. And actually, yeah, on that topic, each tier is ordered from left to right as well as up to down. So like a normal tier list obviously is ordered up to down, but this tier list is also ordered from left to right. So let's take the A tier, for example, is 5.5 to 6. So Khepri being in like the top spot here is like much closer to 6, and Persephone being in the bottom spot of this tier is much closer to 5.5. So in reality, you can just read this sequentially left to right and down the page like you would a book, and basically that's where all the gods are positioned. So like as you get to the bottom of A tier, Persephone is only slightly higher rated than Cupid, for example, and then it continues down. Nox is only slightly higher rated than AMC, and etc, etc. Hopefully you get the idea. But yeah, I just wanted to give my thoughts on this and show you guys the data because it is pretty interesting. I don't think anyone's really done anything like this before in terms of like a community rating averaged out, so it's like the opinion of the average player. Obviously it's not going to be completely the opinion of the average player because it's the average opinion of my viewers. I like to think you guys are pretty much the average Smite player, but my audience will be skewed slightly in certain directions based on the type of content I make. But in general, this is pretty representative of what the average player thinks in terms of fun gods. So let's do the top and bottom tiers first because they're usually the most interesting. People don't care that much about a god that's just like moderately fun, but Ra rated as the most fun god in the game. I kind of agree with this. I wouldn't say he's my personal most fun, but I can definitely see why people would rate him as the most fun. Like, Ra snipes are just the best, bro. Like, you can't really argue with Ra snipes. Like, there are other gods that have similar things, like Thoth, for example, who's way lower down, but it just doesn't feel the same, man. Ra's the OG sniper, and he's definitely hella fun. Morrigan, I agree with as well. Morrigan is like pretty high skill cap, so it's a lot of fun to like learning the god properly. And she's also just got a fun kit. Like you can run into the backline, assassinate someone, and then just turn it at someone else. Like that's cool. Baron, I agree with being high. Maybe not second most fun god in the game for me, but I'd probably have Baron in like somewhere in the middle of S tier or something. Kuzenbo, vote very high. I agree with this. Kuzenbo's really fun. He's kind of not very fun to play against because he locks you down so hard and pops thorns, but Kuzenbo to play is super fun. And then but down in the D tier, we have Aphrodite, Bastet, and Arachne. I agree 100% wholeheartedly with this entire tier. These three gods suck ass. Aphrodite is the most unfun god in the entire game to play against. She's not too bad to play as, but to play against, she's the worst. Same thing with Arachne, actually. Arachne is decent to play as, but to play against is just horrible. And Bastet is just terrible all around. Like, who really enjoys playing Bastet? Pretty much no one, and this tier list basically agrees with that. And then like slightly not quite as bad as these bottom three, we have AMC, Loki, Zeus, and Apwash. Surprisingly, this actually correlates, like a lot of these bottom tiers actually correlate to where the gods are in terms of like performance level a little bit, which probably does impact people's like overall perception of how fun they are. Like for example, Bastet's been really bad for a long time, even after a rework. People aren't going to think that's very fun. Same thing with Apwash, not the rework thing, but he's been pretty trash for a long time. And there is a lot of fun you can have with playing bad gods and shitting on people. Like you can style on people in that way, but most people don't really enjoy playing a consistently underpowered god that's never been good. Overall, this list, I kind of agree with for the most part. There's obviously some that I'm not going to agree with because it's the average player opinion. I'm not the average player. I'm an actual human being, so I'm not going to agree with all of this. But like Sobek, for example, Sobek's way too high. I enjoy myself some Sobek, but to play against, he's just so fucking boring, dude. I'd drop Sobek down quite a bit. Xing Chen also, I don't find that fun. And down in these tiers, like Terra, I think is really fun. I think Terra deserves to be bumped up a bit. Probably Vamana as well. Baba Yaga is actually really fun after the changes that she's had. I like Artemis. I think Artemis is pretty fun as well. But for the most part, I agree with a lot of this. Like, Bacchus not very fun, Artio's not very fun, Kuma's not very fun. Like, a lot of these placements make a lot of sense to me. Oh, Anubis is another one that I didn't expect Anubis to be this low. Like, for me, I would rate him slightly higher, but I expected the average player to rate Anubis as, like, one of the most fun gods in the game. Surprising to see Anubis so low on this list. But yeah, that's the list. I also have some interesting facts down here, if you may have seen these two black tiers down here. These are stats for each season of gods and also each class of gods. So we'll start with the seasons. So the beta gods, so any god released before season 1 or that was part of the original, I think it was 15 or 16 gods that they released, got a 5.8 average. Season 1 got 5.91. Season 2 got 6.04. Season 3 got 5.89, Season 4 got 6.17, Season 5 got 6.47, Season 6 got 6.16, and Season 7 got 6.29. So obviously there isn't all that much difference between them, like even the highest performing season being Season 5 is 6.47, the lowest performing season being beta is 5.8, so they're only like 0.6 of a score away from each other. There's really not too much difference overall, but we can see that like Season 5 is way above the rest of the seasons in terms of how much people liked the god roster. And the beta gods and the Season 1 gods tend to be like the lowest here, which I guess is fine. They seem to be improving their god releases over time just based on this data. Like beta 5.8, Season 1 was an improvement, Season 2 was an improvement, Season 3 was a bit of a misstep. They released a lot of kind of boring gods in Season 3, which I can definitely agree with, like Jingwei, stuff like that. Season 4 was back on form, Season 5 was like the peak of god releases, and then Season 6 and Season 7 are like a little bit of a fall off from Season 5, but still like on par or an improvement with like Season 4 and stuff like that. So in general, I think if you graph this out, you could easily draw like an upward trend line through it in terms of that like the god releases are improving overall, which is definitely a good thing. I think there's a lot of stuff that Harris could actually learn from this. Like, they could look back at what made the Season 5 gods so fun and how they can replicate that. Obviously, Season 7's not fully done yet. This is based on, I think, the first 4 god releases of Season 7, so this could definitely change. Very much so, because it's an average, so if they release one god that's really trash, it'll drag that average way down. If they release a really good god, it might even surpass Season 5, so a lot can change with Season 7's releases, but as of right now, it's the second best season according to you guys in terms of like funness of the god releases. Moving on to the classes, we have Assassins at 5.834 average, Guardians at 6.192, Hunters at 5.720, Mages at 5.895, and Warriors at 6.191. And you can see why I had to include 3 decimal places on this one, because Guardians and Warriors are almost identical. It's actually crazy how close these 2 ratings were. Like, when each individual person was rating it on an integer, like, you could only choose, like, 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever. You can't rate, like, in the middle. The fact that these 2 got so close out of, like, over 500 answers is actually insane. Like, that is statistically so unlikely to happen. And yet, yeah, there we go. Guardians and Warriors, by far the most fun class, according to a lot of people. They're like a solid 0.3 above the rest of the classes. So all of you complaining about tank meta, shut the hell up, because you like the tanks as much as everyone else does, so shut your mouth. But yeah, so the rest of the classes are a little bit lower here, but it's basically a divide of tanks and damage dealers. Like, the damage dealers are all 5.7 or 5.8, and then the Guardians and Warriors being at almost 6.2 each. So yeah, no more complaining about tank meta. But yeah, that's probably going to be it for this video. A fairly short one. I just wanted to discuss the findings of this because I like to do these sort of things where like I collect audience data and things like that. Because I'm a bit of a data geek in a way, and like sorting through all that data and creating this list was really fun for me to do, and hopefully it was enjoyable for you guys to watch as well, and you could learn some stuff from it about what people think overall, and maybe even Hi-Res could learn something from it. I mean, no one at Hi-Res is going to watch this video, let's be real, but if they did, they could probably learn something about what makes these top gods fun and what makes these bottom gods not very fun. But yeah, let me know if you have any other ideas for these sort of videos where I make a tier list out of like collated data from you guys, because I'm always down to make more of these if there's some cool ideas that pop into my head or that you guys can suggest to me. So let me know that down below, and I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.